السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. غنشوفوا في هذا الفيديو.
Now, the issue went to the disciplinary committee. The disciplinary committee brought out their sanctions and Morocco said, no, you didn't apply the rule to the latter. We demand more. So they went to appeal, as they should. So in all of this, I think it's Morocco who have followed the right protocols. And in all of this, I think it is Senegal who let themselves and Africa down by walking off the pitch. As soon as Senegal refused to continue to play the match which had begun, in principle, they had forfeited the game. This rule here didn't leave room for Senegal to walk off, cool off, have a talking to, and return to the pitch. Right. There's nothing like that. To continue playing one which has begun, Senegal, in principle, had forfeited the game. Yeah. Now, when we say in principle they forfeited the game, the referee might as well continue the game. But in principle, the forfeiture is there.
فيديو اليوم من إعلام غانا كيهضر بصراحة وبلا مجاملة على واحد الملف اللي قلب الموازين في إفريقيا. الوقائع واضحة ولكن التأويلات كثيرة، وهنا كيبان الفرق بين اللي كيهضر بالعاطفة واللي كيرجع للقانون. اللي وقع ماشي مجرد جدل تحكيمي بل خطأ ثقيل كلف السنغال غالي وقلب النتائج بشكل نهائي. بمنطق القانون بزاف ديال التفاصيل اللي كانت مخبية دابا ولات كتبان وكتعطي صورة مختلفة تماما على الرواية المنتشرة. السؤال دابا واش فعلا المغرب ربح بالقانون قبل الملعب ولا كاين شي معطيات أخرى غادي تصدم الجميع؟
Quite clearly, we saw the coach Paptia walk onto the pitch and actually instruct the boys to get to the dressing room. So you saw lots of them heading to the dressing room. In fact, it's been said that Ibrahim Mbaye, the PSG young footballer who was also very electrifying at the AFCON, straight away went to Snapchat to post something on Snapchat, later came to apologize for it and everything. So then Senegal left the pitch and then eventually came to play. Now, the issue went to the disciplinary committee. The disciplinary committee brought out their sanctions and Morocco said, no, you didn't apply the rule to the latter. We demand more. So they went to appeal, as they should. So in all of this, I think it's Morocco who have followed the right protocols. And in all of this, I think it is Senegal who let themselves and Africa down by walking off the pitch. So what does the rule say about in the CAF disciplinary code? I screenshotted this straight away so that I'm not going to type it into any presentation. I want it to be the same feel, the same wording and everything so everybody can appreciate it. So, and when you read the ruling that Appeals Board brought out, it specifically did mention the Article 82 and 84, that based on those two articles, they were going to strip Senegal of the title, forfeit the game, and then hand it over to Morocco. But what we suspect in 82 is that because Senegal walked off, it meant they abandoned the game. So what does it say when you abandon the game from the CAF disciplinary rule book? So it says, one, if a team refuses to play a match or to continue playing one which has begun, it will be sanctioned with a minimum fine of $20,000 and will, in principle, forfeit the match. In principle. In principle. So, in this case, as soon as Senegal refused to continue to play the match which had begun, in principle, they had forfeited the game. This rule here didn't leave room for Senegal to walk off, cool off, have a talking to, and return to the pitch. Right. There's nothing like that. So it doesn't give any duration that a referee has to wait for 2 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 or 30. As soon as they left the pitch without the authorization of the referee, while the game was continuing and continue playing one which has begun, Senegal in principle had forfeited the game. Yeah. Now when we say in principle they forfeited the game, the referee might as well continue the game. But in principle, the forfeiture is there. And that is why the rule then will allow anybody who feels hard done by to go and appeal. So it goes on to say in point 2 that in serious cases, the team will also be disqualified from the competition in progress. I'll come to this later, so let's keep this in mind. The point 3 says, this is subject to the provisions of the competition's regulations. So this competition was the Africa Cup of Nations, the AFCON, which has its own regulation as well. So the CAF disciplinary code is saying that we can also go into the AFCON regulation and then see what it says there, because this is subject to the provisions in the competition regulation. So if we move it on.
What it means is that if the AFCON regulations contradict this, then the AFCON regulations are the ones that stand.
Yes.
That's what it's subject to.
Absolutely. So we have to go there and see if in that AFCON regulation it backs what is being said here or not. So let's move there. If we move the slide on to the next one, then we are going into the AFCON. This is the AFCON specific rule book. So
on withdrawals.
On withdrawals. So again, a screenshot, not typing, no editing, nothing. Okay. So in Article 82, it says, and this is clearer and broader, that if for any reason or whatsoever, whether the referee gave a pen you didn't want, whether your player was injured, whether the referee insulted you, whether somebody threw something like, for any reason or whatsoever, a team withdraws from the competition or does not report for a match or refuses to play or leaves the ground before the regular end of the match without the authorization of the referee, it shall be considered looser and shall be eliminated for good from the current competition. The same shall apply for the teams previously disqualified by decision of CAF. This part of the rule book in 83 is clear that when a team refuses to play, and indeed Senegal refused to play at some point in the game and walked off.
Yes.
That was a refusal to play. They went down into the dressing room and everything. They refused to play. Again, what this article doesn't provide is what will remedy Senegal's walking off. So Senegal might have returned to the pitch to continue the game, but they indeed refused to play. And the punishment of refusing to play is clearly spelled out here. It shall be considered. And at that point, it is not to the discretion of the referee. So people have said that the referee can decide whatever he does. Once he uses his discretion, that is it. But this doesn't allow the referee to use his discretion. It doesn't say it in here. And that is why in the disciplinary code, it's said that you forfeit the game in principle. So even if the referee uses his discretion, the forfeiture is there. But it leaves room for whoever feels aggrieved to come and appeal. So Morocco have appealed this. Now, if you go to Article 83, and I've seen people wrongly bring Article 83 into this problem, but it shouldn't be. A team that shall not be present on the ground, dressed to play at the time fixed for the kickoff or at most 15 minutes later, shall forfeit the match. The referee shall register the absence of the team and shall write it in his report. The organizing committee shall take the final decision in this respect. This didn't happen. We didn't see this happening. And in fact, Article 82 and 83 can't happen together by one team in one game, because Article 83 speaks about a team that has failed to report to the ground, failed to dress to play at the time that is fixed for the kickoff. So the referee, when the game is supposed to start at 3 o'clock, and the referee goes to stand in the center circle at 3 o'clock, and it's 3:15, the referee can close the game and shall declare them losers, and then he writes in his report. In fact, if the referee registered this absence of the team in his report, right, the organizing committee shall take the final decision. It doesn't even leave it to the discretion of the referee to take. So when people say everything that happens on the pitch is down to the referee, and even forfeiture of every single game is down to the referee, the rule book doesn't even spell that out and give that power to the referee. Even in 83, which doesn't apply to Senegal, by the way, doesn't do that. 82 doesn't do that. But it's 84 that's then the appeals committee also then used. So it says, the team which contravenes the provisions of Article 82 and 83 shall be eliminated for good from the competition. This team will lose its match by 3-0 unless the opponent has scored a more advantageous result at the time when the match was interrupted. Now, was Senegal and Morocco's game interrupted? It was interrupted by Senegal walking off. Now, in this case, this score will be maintained. That is, if the team that stayed on the pitch and didn't interrupt the game had a more advantageous score than 3-0, then the organizing committee may adopt further measures. So the punishment for 82 and 83 is cast in stone. What the organizing committee can do is to punish them further or adopt further measures to look at these issues. So, and when you read Article 84, which actually makes out the punishment the teams face, the wording is so clear that it makes room for 83, it makes room for 82. The room it makes for 82 is that if the game is already in progress, and then the team that is forfeiting the game is losing by a score line more advantageous than 3-0, that score line stays. But in Article 83, there is no way a game that hasn't started by a better score line than the 3-0. So at that point, you forfeit the game and you get 3-0. But when Senegal walked off, the score line at the time was goalless. So when you forfeit the game at that point, it is what?
3-0 defeat.
3-0. So this is what the CAF ruling from the appeals board mentioned, Article 82 and Article 84. So this is where I think that Senegal are caught in the web, because they indeed refused to play and they left the pitch. And when you even go into the French wedding, on Friday we were on a show, when you go into the way the French vote to put the wedding out, instead of the ground, you use letter A. Letter A, which actually means the pitch. So the French would have been reading that if for any reason or whatsoever a team withdraws from the competition or does not report for a match or refuses to play or leaves the pitch before regular end of the game of match without the authorization of the referee, it shall. Morocco and Senegal, all of them, they speak French. Yes. They would have been reading this and appealing this in French. Now, let's look at what people are saying could be the case for Senegal. Now, people are saying that once the referee allowed them to continue the game, then the appeals committee has no jurisdiction over the game because the referee's decision is final. The disciplinary code of the referee actually says it, that the referee's decision is final. Of CAF actually said the referee's decision is final. But it went on further, and I think people have not caught that. So it says the referee, during matches, disciplinary decisions are taken by the referee. These decisions are final. But I'm imagining that when people reached the point 2, they stopped reading. Because when you read further on point 3, the jurisdiction of the judicial bodies may apply. In reference as to Article 11. So let's go to Article 11 and see what Article 11 says if we move on to the next one, because it quite clearly says something. Now this is Article 11, specific jurisdiction. Now the disciplinary board is responsible for sanctioning infringements which may or may not have escaped the match official's attention. That when you walk off the pitch in itself without the referee's authorization, it is an infringement. The referee might have come to continue the game because he may or may not, it may or may not have escaped the referee. But even if it escaped the referee,
or even if it did not,
or even if it did not, in this case, well, let's say
he was aware of it, he didn't.
Let's just say the referee, he was, the text.
But he knew what had happened.
Yes, and he didn't apply the rule. The same disciplinary code gives room for specific jurisdiction to come back and correct the error that the referee made in the game. Yeah. So sanctioning infringements which may or may not have escaped the match official's attention. So
the CAF disciplinary board gives, the CAF disciplinary code gives the disciplinary board authority to interfere in decisions of the referee that he may or may not have been aware of during the game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So in other words, they can correct referees' errors.
They can correct referees' errors.
Including a game that he had seen to the conclusion.
Yes. They can correct the referee's errors. Everything they can correct it. So, and that's why I say, so if the referee missed it, and you see, this is why teams can even go and appeal red cards. And then they'll look at it and say, the referee didn't apply the right rule, so we rescind the decision. But when the referee makes the decision on the pitch, that decision is final on the pitch. But when they leave the pitch, it is not final because this jurisdiction is not on the pitch. It is outside the pitch. So when the referee gives a red card, you walk off. You think it's offside. You will still go and pass and play. But after the game, if you've got a case from the codes, from the laws and the statutes, you can always go and appeal. So when you read it, it says the board is responsible for sanctioning all offences which occur prior, during, and after a fixture. So if they can sanction all offences which occur during and after a fixture, a sanction that a referee has already meted out to a team, they can further increase it or they can take it off. In this case, Senegal did something, and the rule spells out what should be the punishment for what they did. So the appeals board, the disciplinary board, can actually sanction the offences that the referee failed to sanction, which was to forfeit the game once Senegal walked off without his authorization and then declare Morocco as 3-0 winners. So they can come back to this. They can rectify obvious errors in disciplinary decisions based on a referee's report.
كما شفنا الفيديو من إعلام غانا ما خلى حتى زاوية إلا والضوء عليها وبين أن الملف ماشي بسيط كما كيتروج. القضية خرجت من إطار كرة القدم ودخلت في مجال القانون الصارم اللي ما فيه لا عاطفة ولا مجاملة. اللي داروا السنغال كان قرار متسرع وربما هو اللي قلب الطاولة عليهم كاملة، حيث في القانون أي انسحاب من الملعب كيتحسب بطريقة واضحة وما فيها حتى تأويل، وهذا النقطة بالضبط هي اللي خلت الكفة تميل للمغرب بشكل كبير. كنشوفوا كذلك أن حتى القرارات ديال الحكم ما كتبقاش هي الفيصل النهائي، حيث الهيئات القانونية عندها صلاحيات كتفوق حتى ما يقع داخل الملعب، وهنا كيبان الفرق بين اللعب داخل التيران والمعركة الحقيقية خارجه. المغرب تعامل مع الملف بطريقة هادئة وقانونية، وهذا هو السر القوة ديالو، ماشي بالضجيج ولا الاحتجاج ولكن بالمساطر والقوانين اللي كتحسم. بزاف ديال الأصوات كانت ضد القرار في البداية، ولكن مع الوقت بدات الصورة كتوضح، والرأي العام الدولي ولا كيميل تدريجيا للفهم القانوني ديال القضية. وهذا التحول ما جاش من فراغ، بل من قراءة دقيقة للنصوص اللي كان كيبان ظلم ولا اليوم كيبان تطبيق حرفي للقانون. وهنا السؤال الكبير اللي خاص كل واحد يطرحه، واش العاطفة كانت غلطة من الأول؟ في النهاية اللي وقع درس كبير في الكرة الإفريقية كاملة، والرسالة واضحة، القانون فوق الجميع، واللي غلط كيخلص الثمن مهما كان اسمه.